a wonderful report, Pete, from Hulk Hogan's Pastamania.
Oh, yeah, so he's... It's so weird to sort of see so much of a roster that I regarded as being stone cold fucking WWF till they die.
Yeah.
All of the product was just over in some bizarro WCW world for a couple of years before it all went to shit. And Hulk Hogan's just in, I presume, in the Mall of America in his own little pop-up restaurant.
That's right.
And everyone's eating his dirty old pasta.
That's right. He keeps on shouting, "I've eaten so many Hulkaroos," he keeps saying. And I went back and I looked at the menu for Hulk Hogan's Pastamania, which, let me tell you, there weren't a great deal of menus because it wasn't open that long. Right? No. There is nothing on the menu called Hulkaroo. There is nothing at all. So I don't know what he thinks he's...
It's pain pills, mate. It's just pain pills. Just Hulkaroo.
There used to be...
It's a cry for help, Mark. He's become sleepy because he's eaten a bit of pasta and now he's dropping truth bombs. He just wants everyone to know that he is absolutely blasted on fucking benzos. Hulkaroos.
The only thing that ends in a ruse in America would have been Underoos, which were a brand of children's underwear that used to have like characters on them. So you'd get, I don't know, like Star Wars Underoos, and you'd get, so I don't want to suggest that what he's been eating is loads of Hulk Hogan branded children's pants. But I mean, I don't know what Hulkaroos are. They aren't on the menu.
He needs to explain himself. Give him a tweet. He's got off and on. What's fucking Hulkaroos about?
I eat my Hulkaroos.
Because tonight, brother, first time on TNT, I'm putting the WCW heavyweight title on the line, and with Pastamania running through my brain, who's gonna beat Big Bubba tonight, Hulkamaniacs? And when I'm done dragging him around the Mall of America, and all my Pastamaniacs are tearing their WCW shirts off, brother, I'm going to give Big Bubba a dose of my Hulkaroos up there.
He keeps on calling the Hulkamaniacs Pastamaniacs here as well. He says that phrase well over half a dozen times in this short little bit. He's so carny. Just willing to sell out his thing on his wrestling show, being the Hulkamaniacs, just to do Pastamaniacs again and again. Just no shame. And he also says, "I'm slim, I'm trim, I've been eating my Pastamania." And I don't care what your pasta is, it is not going to make you slim and trim, right?
They probably regarded it as health food back then, to be fair. But I think no other sort of big company like that, no other massive, billion-dollar company in the world would entrust one man fucking top of the head fucking freestyling with their trademarks. It's Hulkamania, big thing.
Yes.
And he's just going, I'm just going to change this for a fucking laugh. Yeah, and they were so loose with people's fucking catchphrases.
Completely. And the whole idea that you've got a literal show that goes out on national television and you just hand it over because someone's got a fucking pasta concession in a mall in Minnesota. And he just goes, "I'll get 5 minutes and I'll just talk about my wonderful quick cook mall pasta outlet." I mean, it's just incredible. It's so carny.
And what you gonna do in the Mall of America, brother, when Hulk Hogan, Pastamania, and all my Pastamaniacs run wild on you? What's he gonna do? All right.
We kick off, we've got Bobby Heenan, Eric Bischoff, and Steve Mongo McMichael with his little dog Pepe. He is the world's tiniest but best behaved dog. He's like a big fly that's looks like a dog, but then they dress him up and he's happy. He just sits there quite happily.
I think very much like when you see homeless people with very well behaved dogs. I think that little dog might have had half a Valium. That's how they do it.
Steve McMichael's got his great big footballer's thumb up its bum. Every time he feels it try and lean forward, he can just pop his thumb up against its rib cage. It goes rigid.
Good dog.
You're getting this stuff off. Was he in the movie, Ben?
We're out of time. Thanks for joining us on this debut edition.
The first person out is Jushin Thunder Liger.
Amazing.
Just remarkable. The fact that Jushin Liger kicks off WCW Nitro is amazing as a historical fact. Out then comes Flying Brian Pillman. At the time, probably the best looking man in America. So handsome. He has his top off. Obviously, he's maybe the first person in the Mall of America to have their top off and not be asked to leave. Probably is a rule about, not having your nips out. This is a state of the art match for the time. It's still really, really watchable now. The two of them had first had matches in WCW back in 1992 at Super Brawl. And it's sort of funny that Jushin Liger, when they bring him over to WCW, they knew he worked with Brian Pillman really well. And he didn't really work with anyone else very well at all because nobody else really wrestled that style. So whenever they put him with Pillman, it was just like magic. The two of them were like, oh, good, we know we can do this. And they do really well. I mean, the crowd here, they chant USA, and you're going to see that crowd who are a bit simplistic and Hicksville get changed for a cooler, younger, hipper crowd within the next few years. What annoyed me about chanting USA is, to me, like, Liger is not foreign. He's like a fucking space alien. He doesn't care for stupid, like, geographic interior boundaries. He shouldn't have fucking moon.
Look at him, for crying out loud.
And why would you ever go, I don't want that guy to win?
He's obviously the best.
Obviously,
and he's so smooth, and he's doing moves. Even like there's a bit of a botch at one point where, like, off the second rope, I think either Pillman or Liger fucked it up.
Yeah,
and it still looked good. It still looked good. Even their botches look good.
And Pillman's got to a point here where he's no longer the sort of milquetoast babyface who is smiling weakly. And what he's become is quite sort of he's got a bad-tempered side to him, Brian Pillman, that comes out in all these matches, even at a time where he's supposed to be a real fan favourite and a babyface. The real Brian Pillman is quite clearly a bloke who had the hump, and he gives the hump here. The sad thing about this match is it doesn't end as spectacularly as you slightly want it to. It ends with a sort of sit-down roll-up by Pillman on Liger, and he sits on his chest, gets a 3 count. They do a replay of that, and it's one of those replays you shouldn't show, because what it really shows is that Liger has got Pillman sitting on his chest, his shoulders are entirely free, and he's struggling, and all he's struggling against is air. There's nothing to stop him lifting one of those shoulders. But look, he's a space alien. Maybe his internal sort of like liquid organ has been disrupted by being put on his back, and he's just incapable of getting over. You'd have to flip him over with your foot.
I think I saw read that the only person in the entirety of this Nitro that aren't in the Hall of Fame is Pillman.
Right.
And he didn't go in last year, did he?
No, I mean the problem really for like Pillman and the Hall of Fame though is that Pillman died when he was working for the WWF. He effectively died on their watch, and they do hate having to answer those questions and bring those things back. So that's probably one of the reasons that Pillman has been passed over for that. Also, there was a horrible interview they did on a Raw in the week after he died with his grieving widow Melanie, where Vince McMahon sort of like questioned her, and it was just for entertainment value. Really, it was for ratings. It was not an edifying moment. It was awful at the time, and it seems even worse in retrospect now. But Pillman would become such an incredible, interesting guy in this whole thing that Eric Bischoff loved so much, of spontaneity and unpredictability. He did a wonderful thing where he played a character called the Loose Cannon. This would happen in sort of 96, and he basically wanted to work a shoot. So he said to Eric Bischoff, why don't we make it look like I've lost my mind and you fire me? You legitimately fire me. And that way everyone will think it's real and we'll fool all the boys. And Bischoff said, that is so exciting. And he fired Brian Pillman, and Brian Pillman did the ultimate unpredictable thing, which is then immediately signed with the WWF. Looks like you worked yourself into a shoot, brother.
Bischoff, you idiot. This is wrestling, mate.
I bet Bischoff had a couple of moments where he did that slow hand clap with a little smile, just going, well played, Pillman. Well played, Loose Cannon. The second match that comes in, Pete, is Ric Flair versus Sting. This was one of those things that I looked at and I said, oh, that's a shame. They wouldn't have known this and they just missed out on it. But the match that ended Nitro in 2001, so the final match in Nitro's history, was Ric Flair versus Sting. And it was a real shame that this wasn't the first match. So that would have been perfect bookending symmetry. But, hey, look, you weren't to know. No one was to know. So, what's incredible, actually, when you look at this Nitro, there are only 2 people who are still wrestling on a national level, and they are both in this match. They are Sting, who is obviously in AEW and just being sensational, and Ric Flair. And Ric Flair is having his final retirement match later this month. So it is incredible that you'd have watched this in 1995 and you'd have gone, do you know what I think? I think in nearly 30 years' time, the 2 who'll still be going are Ric Flair, who looks old now, and Sting, who Sting as a massive megastar. I think there was that sense of why, and he was careful with his money, you would sort of go, why does the multimillionaire Sting still have to wrestle at 63? The older you wrestled, the worse your career had gone back then. But to be able to look at him now and just go, that is a remarkable achievement that man has made. You know, when you see him in this so long ago and you see him now and you go, possibly even a bigger star now than he was then. That is remarkable. Absolutely. And then you see Ric Flair and you go, please God, no. Please God, no.
Please stop this. That's so weird.
Sting in there as well. He is wearing the very sort of hot pink tights. Which,
very purple. Proper like TV dinosaur kind of purple.
Yeah.
Almost Ultimate Warrior colour.
For me, those are classic Sting tights. They are richly redolent of the 90s, Pete. Couldn't be lovelier. But then, who should come out in something even better than Arn Anderson?
Wearing I would kill for that shell suit. Just shell suit, big chunky fucking trainers. I mean, proper like East London drip.
The best thing about it is you talk about the hot pink and you go, I can picture that. You can picture this tracksuit shell suit top because it's blue, orange and black. Now, you've never thought about that as being a shell suit. The second you say the colours, you're like, I can see that shell suit.
It's so
absolutely
good.
perfect.
So flammable.
So flammable. Ric Flair is DQ'd in this match for refusing to break on the ropes where he's putting extra leverage on the figure four that's on Sting.
Right.
The audience do not understand what's happened there. And again, when you do those moments where you get DQ'd for stuff that you see a million times in matches, it's pretty weak. But the important thing is that Arn Anderson gets in there, takes off that top, just the static electricity crackling around his nipples and chest hair, and he attacks Flair. And that was really the sort of last big run of Anderson's career, apart from a couple of sort of Four Horsemen revivals. Flair would have a singles run against Arn Anderson, his longtime ally. And they pretty much did it that Anderson became the sort of one man who Flair never really conclusively beat. So it was a nice little nod to the brilliance of Arn Anderson there.
For 10 years, Rick, you ran over everybody, but you had me to back your play. What goes around, comes around, and it's come around in your case.
Gentlemen, we will see.
Just as I was going, I'm loving this. They start talking, the commentators, about Pastamania again, like it's a promotional consideration they've had to put in. And Bobby Heenan manages to end it by just going, oh, Pastamania. Wonderful.
What a matchup we have got in store. And remember, the WCW World Heavyweight Champion, Hulk Hogan, will be here